The Coon Train. Welcome, family. Welcome, family. I am astonished by the fact that you have black people that's actually speaking against reparations. It's sad. We're like the only people that do the things that we do. And to those black people that do speak against reparations, do you honestly think these people really care about you? Do you honestly think all that cooning and caking is going to get you anywhere? Well, actually, it makes things harder for black people. And it prolongs our suffering. And not only that, it basically hinders us from doing the things that we want to do. And if you coons would just simply get out of the way, we can get this over with. Coons are probably one of the most dangerous weapons that are used against black people because it always sets us back. And if these coons are so tired of us complaining, then get out of the way for we can get to where we're going, and then you don't have to worry about us complaining anymore. Because once we get our reparations and once we get everything that we want, you don't have to worry about us crying anymore. You know why we continue to cry? Because coons like you continue to hold us back. And you keep us stagnant in the same position that we've been trying to get out of for years. It's people like you that really think that non-black people are going to appreciate what you're doing. But yet, in the back of their minds, they're actually laughing at you. I honestly believe that white people laugh at black people when they see black people going at it. I honestly believe that white supremacy is overjoyed and happy that they have black people that are willing to go out of their way and go against their own culture. I can never understand black people that go against our culture. I will never understand them. But I know these people have been around for years. You've been having coons for the last 300-400 years. There is records and histories of buck dancing and cooning throughout the history of black people being in America or being under the United States European Slave Act. So what people don't understand and what they fail to really get is that you're really just basically making it harder for us to get to where we need to go. And that's why you coons need to get out of the way. Because not only that, these coons are not educated on why we're asking for reparations. They're not really educated on it. There's two main reasons why we are asking for reparations. The first reason is because they promised it to us. See, these coons that speak against reparations, they always forget to bring up the fact that the United States of America promised reparations. And I don't know where you come from, but when you make a promise, you're supposed to keep it. That's called integrity. So don't come in here talking down on black people because they're asking for something that's been promised to them. I'm pretty sure if somebody promised you something, you're going to want it. I'm pretty sure if somebody promised you a job, when you get there, you're going to want the job. I'm pretty sure when anybody promised you anything, you're going to want them to follow through with it. But somehow we're wrong for asking for what was promised to us. That doesn't make no sense. The second reason why we're asking for reparations for those Negroes and black people that keep on riding the coon train. The second reason is because of the mistreatment of slaves. This is for you smart coons, well, that think you're smart, by telling us, well, the Africans, they put you in slavery too. Don't worry about it. We'll get to the Africans, but let's deal with America first. How about that? That way we can focus on one at a time. We can't do both at the same time. But when you say that foundational Americans, don't understand that the Africans did us wrong and sold us into slavery, then you're dead wrong. But right now, we have to fight one battle at a time. We can't fight Africa and fight the United States. We can't do that. So right now, we got our plate full with dealing with America. So let us deal with America, and then we'll get to Africa afterwards. How about that? And why don't you Coons just get on out the way where we can do what we got to do and stop talking down on your own people, or stop talking against your own people. Stop making it hard for us to get what we're asking for. Everything we have gotten, we have fought for it. If you're saying that we're begging, then you have to say that Martin Luther King was the biggest beggar in the culture, because he was always listing his demands. But you won't say that about Martin Luther King. But you call us beggars. But Martin Luther King was always putting forth the things that he wanted and giving the United States of America a list of the things that he felt that we needed. So was Martin Luther King a big crybaby? You would dare say that. Because you know that everybody looks up to Martin Luther King, so you're not going to talk about him airing out his grievances every day. Martin Luther King was complaining every day. He spent his whole life complaining. Matter of fact, that's how we got to where we at right now, complaining. So for you to come along and tell us that we need to stop complaining, how you think you're in the situation you're in right now? See, this is what happened because some of our black people have become so comfortable, but not understanding that the pro-black movement, civil rights movement, asking or begging, as you would say, is the very reason why you are afforded the rights to get on YouTube and talk reckless. The very people that you speak against, that these coons speak against, is the very people that fought for their rights, for they can have the freedom to get on YouTube and express themselves. Ain't that some bull crap? That's kind of like a dog biting itself in the butt, isn't it? Doesn't make no sense whatsoever. But yeah, the second reason that we're asking for reparations because of the mistreatment of our forefathers. Not the fact that they was enslaved. Not the fact that they was enslaved. We know everybody's been enslaved one way or another. Systematically, no. But who can care less about that? Slavery is slavery, right? So we're not asking for reparations just because we've been enslaved. We're asking for reparations for the mistreatment of slavery. Because when the so-called Africans that you guys keep on complaining about, they gave America the slaves. But what did America do after they received the slaves? They treated them like dogs. They treated them like they wasn't human. They treated them like they was trash. They hung them. They lynched them. They beat them. They sexually assaulted them. They castrated them. Now, Africa didn't tell America to do that, did they? Is that Africa's fault? Is it Africa's fault for how we've been treated in this country for the last 300 to 400 years? Is it Africa's fault? Did Africa make a phone call to America and say, hey, treat those black people as bad as you can? No, America decided to treat our ancestors the way they treated our ancestors because they decided to. It was their choice. It was a personal decision to treat our ancestors the way they did. And that's why we are asking for our reparations. So you can't blame this on Africa. You can't blame the mistreatment that we receive right to this day in this country. You can't blame that on Africa. They didn't have to treat the slaves the way they did. The slaves are already doing the job. Why mistreat them the way they did? Okay, slaves, right? It's your property. It's your slavery, right? Because you know how you Coons is. They talk, well, it was their property. No, it doesn't make sense. Basically, trying to blame something on somebody else does not take away from the humanity or the lack of humanity that the United States of America showed to our ancestors. No matter what you say, we are human. And we were human when they enslaved us. And we were human when they mistreated us. That's all that matters, is that we were human. So all your arguments, they all fall short. But I just ask my Coons, why? Why hinder us? Why? You have the same skin. You come from the same place. Your ancestors was killed, murdered, hung, and lynched too. What's the issue? Why come out publicly and talk against black people and try to hinder us from getting our reparations? Why? Is that white coochie that good? Is it that good? Being on the side of white supremacy, is it that good? Do it come with that many tangibles? Do it make you feel good? Do it delight yourself? Or are you delighted when you turn against your own people? Does it excite you? Is it like living in heaven? Is it like basically having an opportunity to enjoy a little bit of the white man's heaven? What is it? What pushes a man or a woman to speak against their own culture? I've always wondered that. Why would you hinder somebody on their way to trying to make things better for themselves? Why hinder them? And then come out publicly. It doesn't look good. It looks bad. It makes us all look stupid. It makes us all look ignorant. Because believe me, they're not looking at you. They're laughing at you. Yeah, oh, they're going to act cool? Yeah, because you're on their side. So of course they're going to act cool. But believe me, if they ever get in the position to wipe us out like they really want to, you think they're going to spare you? No, they're not. Because if it's their mission, they're not sparing nobody. So at the end of the day, all that I can say is this. I gave you the very two reasons why we asked for reparations. You can't blame Africa for everything. And you sure can't blame Africa for 304 years of mistreatment. You can't blame Africa for the hundreds and decades and you can't blame them for what America decided to do. So all I can say is you Coons need to get on out the way, man, and let us do what we have to do. Let us do what we need to do. And that is to get what belongs to us. Yes, what belongs to us. Sometimes I wonder why people have trouble even debating you Coons. I run circles around you. It's easy work. Because see, when you're right and when you're fighting for true righteousness, you can't be defeated. I've been on here debating for the last 12 years. And I done crushed many. Because the truth It's always going to win at the end of the day, especially if you know how to express it, especially if you know how to communicate it in the right way. So when you say, hey, look at Africa, I say, well, look at what America did after Africa handed them over. Well, let me come up with another one. Um, um, I don't think black people should have reparations because they need to just do for themselves. Do you understand that basically, technically, Americans or white Americans have a 300-year head start? They got a 300-year head start. And the only thing we're trying to do is close that gap. You do understand that they have a 300 years head start, right? Education, land ownership, business ownership. They have a complete layout for them. And the only thing we're trying to do is say, in order for us to even if they gave us reparations, it still wouldn't catch us up. We would still be far behind, but at least it'll make things better. So don't talk as if reparations is going to make us equal to them. It's not going to happen. We're 300 years behind. Reparations will help, but it's not going to close the gap of 300 years. But it will help. So all I can say to you, Coons, is this. You need to stop it. You really need to stop hindering black people. And you need to have respect for your ancestors. You need to have respect for those that fought in the goo. You need to have respect for the Black Panthers because they fought for you. You need to have respect for Malcolm X because he fought for you. You need to have respect for the pro-black movement because they fought for you. They fought to make things better for you. And now that things are better for you, now you think you can just toss them out the window? That's not how it works. Especially when the job is not even done. We're still fighting the fight. The battle isn't over. Obama gave you guys a strong delusion. You actually think it's over. You actually think racism don't exist like it used to. You honestly believe that. Because they gave you the great illusion called Obama. And he made you believe in the so-called dream. They tried to latch back onto Martin Luther King's dream. When everybody knows that he said that dream turned into a nightmare. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody want to talk about the fact that he was reconsidering his whole fight and his whole strategy. He was about to redo his whole strategy was about to change. That's why they took him out. Because Martin Luther King was about to get away from that kumbaya, let's hold hands. He was about to walk away from that, and they knew it. Why? Because the spies was right next to him. They was in the room when he got assassinated. They knew his moves. They had inside people that came back and told him, hey, Brother Martin is about to change his whole program. He's not going to go with the let's get along, kumbaya, hold hands, and once they got the word that Martin Luther King was about to walk away from that whole dream, they said, no, we can't allow that to happen. We can't allow him to get out there and redirect this whole situation. Because right now we got the Negroes where we want them. They're docile and they're listening. They don't want to fight. They don't put down their arms. They don't put down their guns. And they have decided to stop fighting us, to stop fighting against white supremacy. Martin Luther King did a very wonderful job with stumping out our fears. The rise of a black Messiah. The rise of a black Messiah. Malcolm. The rise of a black Messiah. Malcolm. The rise of a black Messiah. Malcolm. So what we're doing by asking for reparations is no different than what Martin Luther King would have done. Matter of fact, Martin Luther King did ask for reparations. And that's why he lost his life. Because he was about to hold the United States of America financially responsible for slavery. He was about to change his whole tune. And before he got a chance to get the message out, do you know how powerful it would have been? If he would have, do you know how powerful it would have been if Martin Luther King would have stood back on that podium and said, change your program. We got to change your plan, people. The kumbaya ain't going to happen. These people don't want no kumbaya, and I'm sorry to tell you people, I'm walking away from my dream because I know kumbaya will never happen. Because these people are wicked. They're wicked in their heart, and they will never ever, under any circumstances, bend to our demands for freedom and true justice. He knew it. That's why he was going to get on that podium and tell black people, oh no, this whole dream of us getting along with these people ain't going to happen. These are a different kind of people. These people are way more wickeder than I ever thought or ever imagined. Go back and listen to his words. He spoke that. He said, I can't believe this resistance and this lack of empathy for mankind. I've never seen a people like this. Martin was coming to the realization that he was dealing with a people and the children of a serpent. He was coming to that conclusion that kumbaya was never going to happen. And he was right. Because in 2022, there's still no kumbaya. And our brother has been gone for many years. And it still ain't no kumbaya. So when you see us out here asking for reparations, understand that we're carrying out Martin Luther King desires and wants. We're carrying out Martin Luther King's demands. And we're also here to tell you that the dream that they're preaching was the dream that Malcolm was walking away from. That Malcolm seen wasn't no good. He didn't even believe in the dream no more. That's why they wouldn't let him get on that podium. Because those inside men, those secret spies that was in there, that was kneeling down beside him and praying with him and going to church with him and corresponding with him, was all spies. They was going back and giving the United States of America information about what Malcolm was thinking, his state of mind, in which direction he was going. They always wanted to have that inside drop before they wouldn't be surprised. So that's why they stuck those spies in there. So they can tell them and relay the message. Oh, Malcolm's about to do this. He's about to do what? Or he's not going with the I have a dream anymore? No, he said the dream is a nightmare. So what do you think we need to do? Well, we got to do what we got to do, because there's no way in the world we can let him get on that podium and shift the whole world. especially shift the thoughts of black people. They couldn't allow that because black people was where they wanted them to be, and that was in a docile mindset, non-threatening. Because they always think that we are a threat. So Malcolm had black people obedient to the powers that be, and they liked it that. So when he was willing to go on that podium, and say no, change your plans. That's when the serpent showed his face again, his ugly face. Because you got to understand, the serpent, he can transform into an angel when he wants to. But he can turn into a beast. He can turn into a full-edged beast when he's forced to. And when Martin Luther King was willing to change his plan, he forced their hand. They didn't want to kill him because he did such an excellent job of bringing black people under obedience. But when they knew he was about to change plans on them, he was no more good to them. So Operation Elimination was executed. A lot of history and a lot of understanding. I'm not the average Joe. I'm an historian. I practice. I educate. I study. That way I won't be bringing forth any kind of misleading information. Everything I say, you can fact check everything that I'm saying. I'm not going to say nothing that cannot be fact checked. So to all you coons, you need to back on up and let us go for reparations and get out of the way and stop standing in the way of your people. The people that gave you the rights that you have today. United States of America didn't give you the rights. We fought, bled, and died for it. Or begged, right? Since we're all beggars in your eyes. But like you say, Coons been around for years. And they're always going to be around. And black people are going to always have to deal with these coons and deal with these people that are sick and don't understand that they're actually making it hard. Why would you stand in the way of something that can help us change the whole directory of everything? Don't you know what reparations would do? It has the potential of getting us a lot out of the hood. So a lot of you coons like to complain about how black people kill each other, how we do drive-bys on each other, how we sell drugs, right? Don't you know that reparations could stop all that? All the things that you complain about, single households and all this stuff that all these white supremacist talking points that you use against us. All of that stuff can come to an end if reparations is given. I'm not going to say everything is going to turn perfect. Everybody have their problems, no matter what color you are. There's ghettos everywhere. There's ghettos in Russia. We all know that poverty creates violence. No matter where you at. You can go to the poorest parts of China and you will find crime. You can go to the poorest parts of Russia. The poorest parts of Rome. You can go to the poorest parts of Cambodia, the poorest parts of Puerto Rico, the poorest parts of Canada. You can go to the poorest parts of England, the poorest parts of France, the poorest parts in Africa, and you will find crime. Why? Because poverty produces crime. So if you want the crime to stop, get rid of the poverty. And that's why we are asking for reparations, to get rid of the poverty, for we can reduce the crime. You're fighting against the very thing that you're complaining about. Because you know how you coons is, you're always accusing us of being out of order. But why will you stand in front of the very thing that can help a lot of black people out of their financial woes, which has a lot to do with the crime? Because poverty produces crime. So if we turn around and reduce the poverty level, crime will go down. Crime will go down too. Anybody with common sense should know this. This is why I don't understand why you coons are standing in the way. You're defeating your own purpose. You don't even make sense. So I said enough, and all I got to say is this. Beware of the coon train, and beware of those that look like you, but don't have the understanding and the education to really understand what they're saying. They're just using white supremacy talking points. And we know all those talking points that come from white supremacy is nothing but lies. Misinformed lies. Nonsense. Ignorancy. I believe personally that white supremacy and those that believe in it or practice it are some of the most ignorant people in the history of humanity. That's how I feel. So to my brothers and sisters, may peace be on to you as we continue to fight this fight as foundational Black Americans. We will continue this fight. It's going to be a hard one. It's not going to be an easy one. It's the very fight that Martin Luther King was about to opt out of because he realized what kind of people he was dealing with. So once again, we have to go and deal with this beast. Now, do I think they're going to act right? No, I don't believe so. This is why I said in my video, I don't believe that there will ever be peace with white supremacy. Because white supremacy itself is too wicked and evil to conform to righteousness. Let that sink in. Like, subscribe. And as always, one love.